as a college student, you're going to be tasked with working in groups a lot. If you don't know who I am, my name is Katkov. I'm the founder of UofTearless. Back in 2024, I went from my lowest grade ever, 37%, to the top 4% of all students in my program. I used to study 8 hours a day. Now I only study 2 hours a day, and I get way better grades than I ever did back then. So this is exactly how to, as a college student, work with other college students without pushing each other's buttons and getting in the way and having, all of these, under the radar fights kind of thing. This is going to be a lot more of a leadership-ish lecture than a psychology lecture, but it still has a lot of aspects of psychology. So the first thing you need to do to ace group projects in college is you need a leader. Designate a leader. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be delegated. Somebody can step to the role of a leader, but every single group in any social circle has a leader, somebody who is or is known as the person of that group. Everybody else is there. They might be equal or said to be equal, but there is always one person who does have greater influence on the group than the rest of the people in the group. So designate a leader. Who do you pick to be your leader? Is it the person with the best grades? Is it the person who works the hardest? Is it the person who works the fastest? How do you pick? Well, there's a few things to consider. The way I like to do it and the way I like to decide who is going to be the leader in our group is the person who has the best ability to bring the people in the group up to their standards. They do not necessarily have to be the person with the best standards. They do not necessarily have to be the hardest worker. The leader is the person who takes the people and can direct them towards a common goal. The leader is going to be the person who directs purpose. Now, what roles will this person need to fill? There are a few. First of all, every time you go into a group project, I highly recommend that you have a meeting where you set what each person is going to do, you delegate tasks, all of that. But the role of the leader is going to be, number one, to keep people on track. Now, they are responsible for checking in with people. Obviously, every student is an independent student and they should be on track and they should get the work done. But it is the role of the leader to keep up with the pace of people moving at their own paces, because you set a deadline, right? Let's say that this is all of the work that needs to be done, and you have this long to do it. This is the deadline, right? And then you delegate it off to different people so they do all of these things, and they're all moving at different speeds, right, to get the work done. But they all inevitably get it done by the deadline it comes together. That's the whole point, right? But because people are moving at different speeds, you need somebody who tracks all of the people. That is the job of the leader. The first job, they don't necessarily need to check in all the time, but a quick text, be like, hey, how's that thing coming? Like, hey, I found this cool thing, right? There's a bunch of ways that we'll go into tricks and like how to make it so they're not like, it doesn't seem pushy, but like, it's like, hey, like how's this thing going? How's progress coming along? Do you think you'll have it done by this? Do you need extra time? What's wrong? What's going on? How's everything working, right? Boom, easy. That's the first job. The second role that the leader fills in a group is they need to set the standard. And it doesn't necessarily need to be their standard. It is the standard of the group that they have all decided that this needs to be done at this time, and it needs to be done this well, and we need to get this grade. This is what we're looking for. This is everything. And the group should, in theory, default to the highest standard, right? It is harder to bring people up, but that is the whole point of university, is to help people grow. So you need to work with each other. You need to be there for each other. If somebody's struggling, it is on that person to reach out and ask for help sometimes. But you also need to recognize as the leader that these people are going to need to be prompted in order to reach out, because a lot of the time they don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, they don't know what they don't know, right? So you need to be the one to ask the questions. That's the third purpose of a leader, to facilitate the progress of the group. Okay, what types of questions are these going to be? Well, it's going to be like, hey, what happened here? You didn't make the deadline. How's, what's happening? Or how's it going? How's this project going? Is it coming along? You on the right track? How's this working for you? Is this too much? Is this too little? Do we need to adjust? Do we need to adjust the deadline? Do you have the skills, the resources, everything like that? That's what the job of the leader, to ask the right questions. Okay, moving on. Now, after you've designated the leader, so we'll come back to this. So the second thing to ace group projects is you need to set deadlines. This one's pretty obvious. We don't really need to go into too much detail, but if you can have multiple deadlines, that's ideal. So we'll just add to this and say multiple deadlines. And the third thing, you need to have multiple checkup meetings. Okay, but not too many, and I'll show you what that means in a second. There's a lot to be said for the frequency of these meetings, so let's get into that right now, and then we'll circle back to what the leader is supposed to do. For the frequency of these meetings, you want it to start more frequently and get less frequent over time. So if you're gonna have a total of, let's say, 3 meetings, have the first one pretty soon after you've made the group, and the second one, that time frame, right? If you have, so this is when it's assigned, right? So maybe you have the first one right here, pretty soon after it's been assigned. The second one, maybe you want to do it right here, right? Where you have enough time to make progress. You let people be a little bit autonomous, get some work done here. And then the third one, maybe you want to have it not too long before you submit it, right? Right there. Okay, why do we want to do this? Well, because at the beginning, people need more help. They need to be checked in. They're not sure. They need to be put on track, but also it sets the standard for the speed at which you're moving, right? And that's the job of the leader, right? To ask questions to facilitate progress, right? Here, you're gonna be asking, all right, guys, where are we? What's going on, right? Talk to me, how much progress have you made, right? That sets the precedent that you guys are going to be moving fast, right? So then on your own, you move a little bit faster. It's like, boom, okay, well, I have another meeting coming up in a couple weeks, right? So I have a little bit of time, but I do need to get something done, and the leader is going to be like, all right, so you should do this at this time, by this time, right? The group decides on what the standards are, when the deadlines are. You need to make sure that you have it done by the second one, and then the third one, everybody knows how it's going to fit together, and they can just work on it until completion. And ideally, you want to go over it a little bit beforehand, so you have that last meeting right before you turn it in, okay? So that's the frequency of the meetings. And the reason you set multiple deadlines, right, maybe you just have it here and here and here, is one, because it makes the task less scary. It also allows your brain to know how much energy it's going to take, but it also lets you see more progress, right? Because instead of just going from incomplete to complete, you're going from incomplete to 20% complete to 30% complete to 50% complete, right? All the way through to 100% complete. You see the progress. You know that the effort that you're putting in is having a payoff, a reward, right? And that helps with motivation because you want to keep the momentum of the progress going. And so if something happens, you hit a wall, then you know that you got to push even harder. You can have that check-in meeting right there, right? Or you can always just text people. And that's, something that we come down to in the meetings, right? Not too many meetings, because too many meetings waste time. So you only want to have them when they're absolutely necessary, but you want to keep that momentum going. So people need more help at the beginning. Over time, they kind of get it. They don't need as much help. Let's go back to the leader here. What is their role? So to keep people on track. Okay, what happens if somebody doesn't make a deadline? Well, there's a few things you can do. First of all, you should be keeping up with them to make sure that they're making progress. But let's say it's a deadline comes, they're like, you know what, man, I didn't get it. I know that I was supposed to draw that pink fluffy unicorn, but my dog ate it. Oh, okay. Well, what are you gonna do about that? I mean, I guess I could draw it again. Did you have time to draw it again? Yeah, I did. You didn't do it? Nope. What happens when you have a dude like that or a girl like that? There's a few things that you can do to psychologically nudge them in the right direction. I don't want to say manipulate, but you can nudge them, give them a little boost, encouragement, right? A few questions you need to ask. First, did you know that there was something due? They're like, probably, right? They're in a group, they should know. The second thing is, did you know when it was due? Yeah, they probably knew, right? They were in the meeting, they were with you, right? Okay, well, that's the third question, let's move on. Third question, did you know how to do it? They're like, oh, actually, I didn't really know how to do it. That was what I was struggling with. You're like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, next time just like let me know, but I got you. So let's, we can delegate you out something else because, other people have been working on your part, but I can give you something else that, and if you need help, just let me know. They're like, all right, cool, man. Yeah, I got you. And they text you maybe like, hey, I don't understand this part. You collaborate, boom, you're back on track. Well, what happens if they knew how to do it? Let's move on. Number 4, they knew there was something that was due. They knew when it was due and they knew how to do it. What's next? Well, did you have the resources to do it? You ask them, did they have the resources? They say, no, nah, dude, like my computer broke. Well, that's a pretty big obstacle, right? How are you gonna type? How are you gonna write, right? If you don't have access to a computer, well, I mean, I could go to the library, right? But I didn't have access because I also lost my T card because my whole bag got stolen. So I couldn't get into the library. I couldn't show them that I had my Quarkus page, my student profile. I just couldn't, right? They're like, oh, well, that's a pretty big deal. And they also can't even email you because they don't have a laptop or computer. That's a pretty extreme example, but you see what I mean. Or you just say like, I didn't give you the study that we were working on. Oh, you should have let me know. Yeah. Next time, like I'll give it to you right away, right? They didn't know that. They didn't have the study that everybody else was working on. They weren't sent it. They didn't get the email. Maybe it fell through, went to the junk, spam, whatever, right? So these are the questions you need to be asking them as the leader to make sure that like why they didn't make the deadline. Okay, now let's say they missed the deadline. You went through all of this. They're like, yeah, I got you. Totally understand, right? Or maybe it's a tough person. What do you do? Okay, if somebody comes up to me, they're like, okay, you know what? I just didn't get it. Right, I couldn't do it. I didn't, all the examples, all the excuses in the world. You're like, oh, okay. Well, we went through all this. Like, it seems like, I feel like you're a very competent person. I know you're going to try hard. I know you do usually get things in on time. So I'm not even worried about the fact that you're not going to get this next thing done on time. So here you go. Boom. What did I just do? I just gave them an identity to live up to. They're the person now who always gets things done on time. It was just that one thing, that one slip up, right? They slip up again, all of a sudden, you're not the person that turns it on time usually. You didn't just have that one slip up, right? You're the person who doesn't usually get things in on time. There's something called cognitive dissonance, which is when you are living not in accordance with who you believe you are. And it's very uncomfortable. For example, if you're promoting something that you don't believe in, it's very uncomfortable. You feel kind of icky inside. That's kind of what that person's going to be going through because you're like, yo, I know I don't even need to worry about you. I know you're going to get in on time, right? You always get things in on time. You work really hard. You do really high quality work. If they live up to it, now they're that person, right? You just gave them an opportunity to become the best version of themselves, right? Who doesn't want to be better, right? But if they don't, they're at dissonance with that person. They're like, I am not super hardworking. I don't usually get things in on time. It's very, very incongruent with who you want to be. So give them an identity, right? You can even do this beforehand, before they get things in late, right? You come up to them, right off the bat, you're like, all right, guys, this is what we're gonna do. All right, I know you, and you. I know you guys do really high quality work. I know you two get things done in on time really, really well. Maybe one of those people is the person that doesn't get things in on time usually. And then the third person, you're like, I know that you have the highest standards, so we're gonna work to your standards. We're gonna get things in on time. We're gonna get this done. Boom, easy. Now they all have stuff to live up to. And here are the deadlines. Let's get to work. So that is basically what you need to know for that, keeping people on track, setting the standards, and asking the questions to facilitate progress and getting them back on track if they fall off. So if you have any more questions on how to work in groups, drop them in the comments below. This was kind of a shorter video, but I just wanted to make it because I did get a lot of requests for it. If you want to know how to improve your studying to an optimal level using all of the principles of psychology that I've learned over the past 4 years here at university, go over to UofTearless.com. There's also a bunch of free resources over there that I know are going to absolutely help you crush it in university. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and send it to somebody who needs to hear this, okay? Because there are a lot of people that work in groups. You might not need to know it now, but you will need to know it in the future. I promise you, it is an inevitability that you will work in groups with somebody. So send it around, make sure that everybody who needs to hear it hears it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.